Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, I'll be recapping the semi-finals of the Freestyle Grand Slam Chess Tour 2025 happening in South Africa. The event has ended as of today. It has ended, I think, one day back. I am recapping a bit late, but don't mind that, please. And I'll be starting the recap. It's the match between Javokir Sindarov and Magnus Carlsen, the World Cup champion versus the world number one. Let's see who comes out on top. The game starts off with e4, c6. It looks like the Karokan, but it is not because the back row of pieces are shuffled. But the setup is that of a Karokan. d4, f6. Magnus chooses to play this style of pushing his pawns to bring out his bishops very quickly and activate them. Here f3, e5, striking in the center, c3, bishop f7, bishop f2, short castles, short castles. Knight ab6, knight d3, d5, and d takes e5, f takes e5, knight c2, d takes e4, f takes e4, knight d6. Knight d6 is a move which puts the knight towards the center of the board to occupy some squares, which Magnus plays. And then knight a3. Knight a3 is played to bring the knight towards the center in the future, and currently it is opening up this bishop. Right now it is blocked by these two pieces, but if they move, the bishop will open up. Knight d7, knight c5, knight f6. There is a dance of the knights over here. Continuously there were a lot of knight moves. Bishop h4, a5, king h1, bishop a7, and b4, b5, bf6, gf6, knight c2, bishop takes c5, pawn takes c5, knight comes towards the white's camp trying to attack. Queen gives a check, king moves, knight moves towards the center of the board on e3, bishop comes out on e6 attacking the queen moves over, the queen enters and infiltrates on the d2 square. The knight takes the knight which was supporting the queen, bishop takes the knight attacking the rook. The rook moves over to attack the queen. Here notice how top players play. I will teach you the art of attack and art of defense in future videos. But right now I am teaching you how to defend also. When this move was played, bishop f5, bishop c4 to attack this rook. When you are being attacked in chess, always there are three types of replies. What are the three types of replies? One is to counter attack. That is, when you are getting attacked, you attack back and create a counter threat. Second is you move your piece. Whichever piece is getting attacked, you move it so that the attack is gone. And third is you defend that piece. You are not counter attacking, you are not moving your piece, but you are defending your piece with the help of some other piece. So there are three replies. Here Sindarov chooses to give the best reply, which is to counter attack Magnus's queen. Queen moves, queen takes, pawn takes, rook takes, the king moves over, pawn comes forward, pawn pushes forward, rook infiltrates, the bishop goes to c2, a4 is played, rook e1, king comes up to g7, and black is better, the pawn is attacked and then the pawn is supported by Magnus. Sindarov attacks the rook goes back, pawn push, rook slides over here so that he can have some ideas of putting his rook on the second last rank. Pawn takes, rook comes down, king comes up, rook takes, rook comes up so that the rook cannot take the other pawn. Bishop is attacked, bishop comes up to f3, rook c2 check, king e1, h takes g4, bishop d1, rook a2, bishop g4, and bishop b3, bd7, rook a1 check, king f2. Here, after a couple of moves, as you can see, the position is absolutely crumbling for white. Black has a very dominant rook on the second rank. Always try to put your rooks on the second rank or the 7th rank. If you're playing with white pieces, put your rook on the 7th rank, and if you're playing with the black pieces, put your rook on the 2nd rank. That helps in the attack. King comes up, pawn comes down, and this pawn is unstoppable right now. Because whatever he does, the pawn will just roll and become a queen. So the first match goes to Magnus Carlsen, the world number one. Let's see what happens in the second match. Let's see, guys. The second match starts off with Magnus having the white pieces c3, d5, d4, c6, e4, f6, and there are a couple of knight moves. Magnus attacking the pawn in this manner. He gives up the pawn first and then he attacks the pawn like this. Queen takes, queen comes here, bishop b3, knight comes to the center, pawn push. Knight comes to the center, queen goes back because it was being hit by the knight. Here b6 is played, then the knight moves. Now a5, bishop h2, a4, advancing in the flank. Bishop comes to c2, knight c4. The knight is slowly coming towards the center and entering into white's territory. And king g1, bishop e6, knight f4, knight takes f4, bishop takes f4, knight takes b2, and knight goes to d3. Bishop d7, queen g3. The queen was attacked, so it decided to create a battery with the bishop, like this, as you can see, towards this side of the board. But as you can see, why black is better over here, because the bishop and queen are pointing towards that side of the board, but the king is over here. The king is quite safe. The king side is quite safe. That is why it is showing better for black. Knight d3, bishop d3, b5, h5, queen d7, a3, e6, rook h4, short castles, rook g4, f5 is attacking the rook. The rook comes up, bishop takes the rook, bishop takes back, queen goes back, bishop comes to e2, rook a7 is played, bishop f4, rook slides over, pawn pushes to weaken the king side and open up things for the white queen to attack. Rook comes up, bishop comes up to attack the rook. The rook goes back simply, bishop goes back, queen comes up, the queen slides over. Now why did he not trade queens? Like one thing I want you to know, because all of you are learning chess and I am also teaching chess. Whenever you are attacking, then don't exchange the queens, because that will demolish and fade away your attack. Your attack will fade away if you exchange the queens. So don't exchange the queens when you are attacking. But when you are getting attacked, when you are defending on the defending side, then you need to exchange the queens so that your opponent cannot attack you. Okay, Sindarov is very low on time, as you can see, 20 seconds, 19 seconds, 25, there is increment obviously. And the rook slides over, this rook also slides over, and Magnus is back in the game. But bishop takes rook, king takes back, bishop f3, rook f6, bishop takes, queen takes, rook up, attacks the queen, queen goes over to here to attack these weak pawns, and then rook comes here to protect that pawn. Next, rook g6 is played, queen f3, queen takes, rook takes, queen gives a check, king just comes up, rook g4, and the position is looking quite equalish, drawish. Queen e1, and then couple of moves is played, as you can see. But here black suddenly gains the advantage because black's position is looking very dominant, and that passer of white, that can be easily captured by black after a couple of moves. So black has easily put his pieces on the center of the board and captured a lot of space, a lot of important space. So according to the imbalance theory, black is up on space. Spatially he is very good. Rook comes to d2, rook comes back to protect the pawn, king comes up, and now that pawn is lost. And like this, after a couple of moves, black just demolishes white. And Sindarov takes the next game, as you can see what happened. And rook and two pawns versus rook and one pawn. This is just winning for black. Magnus decides to continue for a while, but after that he resigns. So this was the second game. It's Sindarov 1, Magnus 1. Let's see what happens in the third game. Okay, the game starts off with b4, g6, opening up the queen's diagonal. Knight b3, e5, d5, d6. The queen's diagonal and the bishop's diagonal are opened. e4, f5, attacking the center. c4, knight b6, putting the knight in the center. Knight c3, also trying to cover up the center. a6, h4, knight f7, bishop e2, bishop d7, f3, creating this healthy pawn chain, as you can see. Always try to create a pawn chain, like as you can see, even black is creating a pawn chain. So a pawn chain will really help your position and it improves your chess overall if you create a healthy pawn chain. Next, rook f1, knight a4, knight takes a4, bishop takes a4. There is a trade of pieces over there, and the queen slides over on this diagonal. The bishop comes over to trade off this bishop, and that happens. Knight d2, g5, bishop d3, f takes e4, knight takes e4, gh4, queen a7. Queen a7 goes to attack the rook, but the rook just slides over. There is no problem. Bishop comes to d7, and the queen chops off the pawn. The queen comes over to e3, giving a check to the king. The bishop just blocks. The rook takes this pawn. The rook protects. Rook takes, queen takes, king takes. King e7, marching forward. Rook goes over to h1, attacking that pawn, which is saved by the rook on h8. Bishop f1 is played, and then bishop f5. Knight g3. Bishop goes back. Rook comes up. King comes over to attack the rook, because the king has a lot of arsenal and a lot of troops with him. That is why he's not scared at all. Let's move on. Pawn comes up, king attacks the rook, and the rook goes back. The rook has to go back because there was nothing else to be done. h4, knight e2, a5, b5, b6, bishop h4, king f6, knight c3, knight g5, bishop g4, bishop d3, a4, bishop takes c4, attacking the pawn chain from this point. And now he'll try to gobble up all these pawns, but obviously the rook is there to protect them, and also this knight is doing a very good job of defending these pawns. h3, king g3, bishop d3, knight goes back to d1, and in this position, as you can see, 1 2 3 4, and there are 1 2 3 4 5 6 pawns. So he black is up 2 pawns, and it is looking very dangerous for white. And here Magnus Carlsen takes the game, so he is leading 2-1. Let's see what happens in the next game. This is the last game between them, and this is 5 minutes once again increment. Let's see, this game is going to be really exciting, guys. d4, e5. It looks like a England gambit, but it is not, obviously. d5, c6, c4, knight b6, knight e3, d6, knight b3. Both the knights are out in the center. f5, f4, e4. Advancing in the center. e4, why it is a good move over here? Because it completely blocks the diagonal of the bishop, and it is looking very bad for this bishop. g4, fg4, queen g3, a5, f5, bishop a7. Bishop a7 is played to control this long diagonal which is facing the king. And then what is played? Knight g4, knight c4, check. King comes up. The pawn pushes. The knight gives a check to the king, and it is pinned to the queen. That is why the pawn can't move. Rook h6, bishop h6, queen e5, knight d2, knight takes d2, queen takes e5, d takes e5, bishop takes d2, and now c takes d5. Pawn push, bishop takes, and as you can see, black Sindarov is really, he's low on time, but Magnus is even lower on time. But Sindarov here is enjoying a really good center. He has a good and strong center, healthy center, and pawns in the center of the board. The bishop attacks the pawn, bishop protects, rook takes, king takes, bishop takes, knight comes over, bishop attacks the bishop, bishop goes back, king e7 is played, and now b4 is played, and now knight d4, bd4, bd4, And now a5 is played. Magnus is trying to push his pawns over this side of the board like this, and he will march up to the final ranks to make a queen. But does Sindarov allow that? Absolutely not. He puts his pieces in front, and then bishop comes over to a4 attacking the rook. Rook c1 is played. Bishop b5 attacking the pawn. King comes over to save the pawn. And now rook b1 is played. Bishop c3. It is completely looking very good for Sindarov, but what happens? He plays bishop b5, bishop b5, king f2, and then g5 is played. Magnus pushes his pawn to e3, and now Sindarov coming up with his pawns in the center of the board. He has played d4, bishop goes up, bishop comes over to d2, and then rook goes up to b3, pawn push. Bishop comes to attack that pawn. He doesn't have to save that pawn. He's going for counter attack. As I told you, when you are getting attacked, you can do three things. You can counter attack, you can defend your pawn or whatever piece is getting attacked, or you can move it. He decides not to move it, not to defend it. He decides to counter attack. So he's counter attacking the rook. And now the rook slides over. Bishop attacks the rook again. The rook attacks the bishop. Bishop gobbles up that pawn. King comes back. And now what happens? Bishop comes over, and this is looking very good for black. Absolutely Magnus is lost over here. Bishop takes, bishop takes, pawn comes up, bishop takes that pawn, bishop goes back, rook comes up, bishop gives a check on c3, king d1, and now attack is the rook again. The rook comes up, the bishop goes to b4, a6 is played, bishop a3, a7, bishop b4, a8 queen. Magnus here making a queen, and Sindarov has two bishops. And now what happens? Let's see. Bishop b3 check, king c1. Here pawn push, and here queen. Magnus is trying to make a perpetual check, but Sindarov is running away. What will happen? Magnus here gives check again, and lots of checks. He's giving lots of checks. What will happen? Let's see. And he gobbles up all of the pieces, and Magnus is left with a king and bishop versus king and three pawns. Also he has one extra pawn, and completely this is losing for Sindarov. And Magnus here very low on time, and Sindarov is also low on time, but Magnus knocks out the World Cup champion, and he is now into the finals. Let's see, he is going to face whom in the finals. We'll see you in the next video. Okay, so thank you guys for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. I'm Chesstrovert. Your support means a lot to me. So thank you. I'll be ending the video here. Goodbye.